Tauzimuga adapmardivsha India tapurar pode kauma shukurai marhaba Tauzimuga adapmardivsha India tapurar pode kauma shukurai
Hello, and welcome back to another episode of the One Sacred Pause podcast. I'm your host, Jessica. And today I have two delightful, lovely yoginis on the podcast. We have Sunniva and Johanna from the Feelgood Shop and Yoga Key in Oslo. So welcome, ladies.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm
What an
so
awesome introduction.
good. I'm so happy to have you guys here and get to talk to you about crystals, about online yoga, about how we as full-time yoga teachers are continuing to reinvent our business model as the lockdowns continue here in Norway. And I can't wait to see where our conversation takes us. So I think I'd like to start with maybe can you give us just a little introduction about who you are, where you're from, and what you guys are up to?
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. So my name is Sunniva, as you mentioned. I am from Oslo. Started out as a dancer and dance teacher many years ago now. It feels like in a different life, but yoga has been with me for many years. So I started practicing yoga in the late 90s. And then I think it's been 10, 15 years now since I first started teaching yoga, actually. And 4 or 5 years ago, since I quit my regular job to become a full-time yoga teacher, and then eventually open my own studio. And then I'm also a mother of two, which is important to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And then this year also then
a full-time job.
Yeah, it's also a full-time job. And then also this year, one of the founders of the Feelgood Shop, the webshop with crystals and magical stuff. Yeah.
Oh, we love it. Essentials and everything.
Yeah.
It's my turn.
Yes.
That's so funny. My name is Johanna. I'm originally from Sweden, but after like 20 years in this beautiful country, I'm almost
Norwegian.
I don't have the background from dancing, but I have actually from the fitness industry. So I've been in the fitness industry for like the whole life, been doing lots of funny things and creating new products and concepts for the Nordic fitness industry, actually. So it's close to my heart to kind of creating new things and to get people moving and have fun, moving their body, and some positive things around kind of the exercise in a way. And after many years traveling in US and trying to spot new trends and stuff like that, I fell in love in yoga. So maybe 15 years or something, it has kind of grown and grown and grown and grown. And all of a sudden, you know that this is the pathway. Can't live without it. Let me do more. And at some point, you just felt deep in your heart that this is what I'm going to do, like full time. And all of a sudden, I met Sunniva, and things are kind of, wow, okay, this is meant to be. Let's do it. Just started a small studio, just with courses in the beginning. So just kind of connecting the neighborhood and creating some very nice things. And then from there, we were like, okay, let's do some retreats and some workshops. And okay, there are lots of people. Let's hire some new instructors. And then we created Yoga Key, and we're doing that for now some years. And then we felt all these magical things we're using in our own practice, in our own life, with these crystals, the essentials, and the smudge, everything.
Rituals.
We just need a shop. So maybe 1.5 years ago, or two, the idea started a long time ago, but it was like, okay, how do we do that? And all of a sudden, we have the Feelgood Shop, the shop where we kind of create feel good, selling feel good stuff, creating a feel good community even more, to get out and reach out for even more people,
Mm.
create good vibes. So that's kind of our baby, the crystal baby, and the
Yeah.
essentials, and we can like kind of nerd, what do you call that?
Yeah, so we can really nerd into the stuff that we love.
And it's so many good vibrations. Yeah, you know the shop. It's like
We love it.
we love
Oh,
it.
yeah.
It's so good.
Oh yeah, no, I was like a kid in the candy store when I came in, because I came
Yeah,
in actually when you guys had your shop on the bottom floor, originally like a year ago before the shutdown, right?
Yeah, is that 1 year ago?
It was
still pregnant.
actually during the first shutdown, because we had to close the studio and then we decided to make the shop instead.
Yeah.
So it was in March or something, or when they started to open a little bit up.
I think we went from, because we had a half a year, we were supposed to do like a pop-up yoga studio, because we have had different studios, but all of a sudden many things that happened. We had a pop-up yoga studio that was closed down because of the corona. And we started the Feelgood Shop, and then we said, okay, let's do a pop-up Feelgood Shop instead. And then we also had, when we have to open up again, not have to, when we could have the opportunity to open up, we had both. So that was totally insane. People were like doing this practice in all these crystals and in the shop. It was like, wow, this is so high vibrations. It's like,
it was amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. But so we don't have any pop-up shop except for we're selling, of course, the things, but it's a web shop.
Yeah, so now we have a yoga shop in the studio, but then the Feelgood Shop is a web shop.
Yeah. Well, and it's, when you guys started the Feelgood Shop, I was so excited because, we need more of this in Norway. And it's been really frustrating for several years, trying to find all of these tools that we do use in our rituals and our ceremonies. And, for those of us who have a pretty rooted practice, these aren't just things that we use like once in a while. These are things we use on a daily basis. It's really frustrating when you need to buy something that you truly use, and then it's going to be a $30 shipping and a $25 toll to get your $5 Palo Santo.
Then you still might get it.
Yeah.
You still might not get it. I mean, sometimes it's like stuck in the customs and everything. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's
so when you don't have the guarantee.
No. I mean, I ordered, well, and that's like one of the reasons when we started collaborating, and I curated the bundle, the highest self bundle with you guys, which I love so much. And I had asked you, I was like, hey, do you think that you guys could maybe bring in some sweetgrass braids?
Yes. Because
there was nowhere to buy these tools here in Norway. And the other thing that I think is so cool about what you guys are doing is you are really taking the time to investigate the source of the products, the sustainability of the products, and you are only offering crystals and smudges and essential oils that you have vetted and that we as the customer consumer can feel good buying from you. We don't have to be like, where is this coming from and who's being hurt by the harvesting of these materials.
And we think that is really important. And we also think that it has an effect on the product, obviously. You want to use it to do spiritual work. You want to use it to do energetic work. So the products that you have needs to be clean and pure in a way. So I think it is really, really, really important that we can offer these ethically harvested and ethically produced products.
And of course, because the customers loves it and are also more and more aware of where do I find the kind of quality products that we can follow where they come from. So that's a part of the inspiring. It's an inspiring part of the
really, and it takes a lot of time to investigate in find it because we cannot travel around the world. Especially not now. And these products come from all around the world. It's amazing. I mean, the essential oils, the crystals, and the incenses, the smudges, they come from everywhere. So we need to find those good places where we can get them that we know that they come from safe sources.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. Well, thank you guys for doing that work, because it's needed in Norway, and now we have a place where we can go and get this stuff. And it's yeah, I mean, it cracks me up. You know, I'm in the middle of this move, and I'm in between my old house and my new house, and so a lot of my stuff is in boxes, and it's been driving me crazy because you know, you get really attached, and of course that's not something we strive for within our yoga practice. We're striving for the opposite, aparigraha, non-grasping, non-attachment. But that being said, we are still householders.
Yes, we are.
We're still navigating our attachments and desires. But it's been driving me crazy because I have a baggie with my favorite smudge stick and my favorite Palo Santo, and I can't find it anywhere. I know it's packed away somewhere. And I have a ton of other things. I have my sweetgrass, and I have a different smudge stick, and I have some beautiful incense. And I'm like, it's not the same. It's not what I want to be using. And so it was funny for me to kind of like notice. And I've spent like probably 2 hours looking for this one little baggie. I'm like, I can visualize when I packed it. And I just was laughing at myself because I was like, gosh, it's funny how much once you start using these products on a regular basis, they do really become part of your daily routine, and you miss it. I miss it when it's not.
I also think it is amazing to see how people that didn't necessarily have back in the days, these things used to be very new age. For like normal people, it would be like, oh, the people that are doing these rituals, the people that are using these things are like far out. But I think the need to connect to your spirituality, to connect to your higher self, to connect to something bigger is coming more and more into people's lives, maybe through the yoga as well, that more people are practicing yoga. And it's so interesting for us to see how diverse and how great the variety of people that wants to get these things into their lives, how great it is. And also for our families, how we see how it affects our children, our life partners. You kind of start, with these essential oils in the house, and then suddenly you cannot find the diffuser. It's in your my eldest son, he kind of steals my diffuser all the time, and then you're finding like these crystals in your son's bed, like crystals under the pillow. It's like, and it's kind of, first they're like, no, it doesn't really work, mommy, what's that string? And then you kind of can see that, oh, it has an effect. You cannot resist.
It's just amazing. We love the routines or the rituals, and I think people needs it, especially in these days. You want to surround yourself with like amazing things. You want to surround yourself with amazing people, but you want to have things in your house that kind of higher your vibrations, that are like not only beautiful or smells good, but also on a deeper level, like can transform you, or can kind of move you in the right direction, or remind you of your purpose. Or so it's like it's amazing. Both to have this shop, to kind of people can find it easily, and it's easily accessible actually.
And also these are objects that has been used for thousands of years. It's not like it's something that we invented. And when we write about the properties of the essential oils or of the crystals, it is not something that we have invented. It's the way that they've been used for thousands of years. And mostly, I think it's been women that have been using it. That women that were seen like witches or shamans, or, that maybe they were seen like a bit different, but now it's becoming more and more normalized, and I think it's absolutely amazing actually. And also the way I think it's important, we work a lot with how we brand and how we wrap everything so that it can become accessible for everybody. You don't feel like you have to be like really far out to do this. Everyone can do it.
Oh, I love that so much. And it's true, because I joke in my teacher trainings, I'm like, if Jessica from 15 years ago or 10 years ago could see Jessica now, and the things that I have in my house, and the things that I do on a daily basis, I would have cracked up laughing. And it's, I have crystals in every room in my house. And one of the things, of course, each crystal has a different vibrational property, and we select the crystal for the vibrational frequency that we are trying to create in our space or in our own bodies. But the reason I love crystals in general, though, is because it's part of the earth element. And when I have crystals in my home, and I have selenite wands in every windowsill, I have crystals in front of my kitchen, I have crystals in my bathroom. And every time I just see the crystals, whether I'm actually working with them in an intentional way or not, as part of my practice, having them around my home and in my space, it's a reminder when I see those crystals of the earth element. I'm like, oh, I'm home. Okay, just relax, ground, slow down. And it's almost like a subliminal message to myself of like, oh yeah, we are from the earth. And me as a Vata type of person, I get very airy. I get very, I have a propensity to be less grounded at times when I'm unbalanced. And so having these crystals around is a way for me to just every day, every room I walk in, I go to the bathroom, I go to the kitchen, I go to the living room, I go to my son's room. And I'm like, oh, there's a crystal. Okay. Everything's good. And I think that's kind of in line with what you were saying, Sunniva, like, how do we make this accessible rather than being like this crazy woo-woo, only these new age hippies use? And I wanted to make a suggestion. I just thought of this as we were talking. I can send you the link after we are done recording, because I know you guys carry a few books, right, in your web shop. There is a line of children's books, and there's only 4, and they're the thick cardboard books. So I've started reading these ones to my son because they're for small children. And they have a book on astrology. They have a book on chakras. They have a book on, I can't remember what that one is. And then they have a book on crystals. And so I've started reading the crystals book to my son, and it's so fun. So I don't know, that might be something interesting to carry too, because then, when we're thinking about, or you guys were sharing about how your sons and your family are now like kind of sneaking in and being inspired by watching you. It's like, I was like, I want to start, my son's 7 months old almost. And I was like, I'm starting him now talking about this stuff.
But the kids, they work like always intuitive.
Yeah,
I mean,
so intuitive.
It's so nice to share kind of the qualities of the stone when they picked someone. If they it's like go to candy store for them. When we had this pop-up shop and the kids were there, they were like, wow. And they chose maybe 1 or 2 of these crystals. And then when you had kind of the story, the background from the crystal, and kind of really told them about the qualities, you could like either the mom or the father was in the shop, or us with our kids, like, really. It's like amazing. They work so intuitive, and they are so open, and they have always brought things from the ocean back home. When you are on holiday, you collect the beautiful stones on the beach, or you kind
shells,
you want to bring things home from the nature, and you can do this with these high vibration crystals. That's kind of it's a wow. It always brought things from the nature in. Everyone does. You take flowers in, you take kind of the stone, the perfect stone from the beach you find on your holiday. You always bring the nature into your home. So why don't you use these magical crystals for upgrade? And we also actually see it's a bigger trend around younger people, not only kids, of course, because they
people in their early 20s or maybe late teens, actually.
I will definitely say, and especially when they are moving out, they want to create a sacred space in their own new home, and they are like searching for nice things in their environment. So I think it maybe come and goes, that trend, but young people like really searching for having a beautiful home with all these things from the nature,
and
because
the energy.
And they like, okay, my God, I have to have a crystal in the bathroom, and I have to have one there, and it's like and it must be like it's for real. It's
Yeah,
for real because
yeah.
it works, and you want to surround yourself with these amazing things from the nature.
We had a young girl here just before Christmas. She actually came to buy something for her mother, like from the yoga shop. And then she suddenly saw all of these crystals, and she was just and she just moved into a new apartment, and
But she had some from
she
before.
had
She's
some
like,
from
"Oh,
before,
wow,
and then she was talking about one of the rooms in the apartment where she didn't really want to spend so much time. It had something to do with somebody who lived in the apartment before. And then we talked, and she was so interested, and it ended up that she kind of, to clean the energy with the smudge sticks and crystals, and she was so inspired. You could just see her eyes going like, woo! It was
it's
amazing.
a bigger interest about younger, and that's so inspiring, actually.
It seems like younger people are, I don't know,
curious.
Yeah,
They are
curious.
open-minded.
Yeah.
They want to like have beautiful things, and they are aware of quality things as well. That's we love that.
We love that.
They do the research also.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree, Johanna. I think that is so inspiring. And I mean, that's why we became yoga teachers in the first place, right? Is because these practices have changed our lives. And so we want to share them with other people. And when we see that other people are responding and they're interested and they're curious, they're asking questions, it's like, it's one of the best feelings in the world. And, it's not about us as the teacher, it's about us as the gateway. And, that's actually a really big thing of what I consider my role to be through my business, through the Atman Yoga School, through this podcast, through every workshop that I teach, is to be a catalyst. And that's actually what I think my dharma is in the role of a teacher, is to help open the door for people to learn about things that maybe they haven't been exposed to before. And just like you were describing, Sunniva, like the eyes of this girl lighting up, like, I know what that feels like. That happened for me with all of this stuff way back when. But then I have had students and friends and people in my life have those same experiences too. And it's like, it's almost like the best gift, because and it has nothing to do with us per se. It's just we are just maybe opening the door, and then they get to have their own experience and create the relationship that they have with these practices. And I want to bottle that feeling because it's the best when you're so excited. And I think you had said something about this, Johanna, at the or maybe before we recorded, I can't remember, where you were like, the more that we do these practices, the more we like want to do them. And it's, we've all been teaching yoga for a really long time, and yet somehow we're still never bored.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
And it's such a huge, there's so many things, there's so many directions, there's so many layers, there's so many things that you can dive into. And I think we have both experience that where you are in your life, there's always a tool that you can use. And this changes all the time. It can change from day to day. It can change from week to week. Sometimes it can last for months, like it has done now. And there is always, within yoga, there's always something that you are drawn to that will support you where you are at this moment.
But the yoga is, I would say, look at the history of yoga. I mean, it's a it's a love affair. You get to your mat, and the more you practice, the more you know you don't know, and there's always something. You just show up on your mat, and just show up, do it again and again, even the hard days, the beautiful days, show up, and the more you practice, the more you know. Like, it's like scrubbing on your surface, that you're like, oh, it's so much more. And the more you show up, the more interested you get to know about your body and how things are working, the circle, the energies, and you want to surround yourself with things. You need things. I mean, it's just a love affair, just showing up for the yoga. It's a reason why it has been. It's not like a trend, it's here to stay. And we just want to share it with as many people as possible, and also do it accessible, and not like it have to be like that, because we're all different. Of course we are different. I know when I come from fitness industry, no kids, and it's like, oh, now I have 2 kids, like an incredible kind of journey through that, becoming a mom and all that things with the birth and stuff. It's like I'm different. I'm different. My practice is different. It's not Ashtanga yoga like 90 minutes every morning. It's different, but it's supposed to be different, I think, because then you are in a, like you change, and it's okay to change, and you have more and more tools to kind of bring in, because it's like you say, sometimes you need more of that, sometimes you need, if you have a super strict life and everything, maybe you don't do that kind of hardcore Ashtanga practice, you kind of softening up, and sometimes else you need the discipline, you need to show up, you need, so it's I think love affair with yoga, it's like, wow, it's amazing to have it as a tool. It's the most beautiful tool ever that I think I've been introduced for the yoga. And you see, when people start to practice, it's like something happens, and then they start their journey, and then they start to, I mean, I don't know how many people we suggest for your school, because they're like, okay,
we want to go deeper into this,
because they get curious about what is this, what's happening, and they start to do things, some of them very physical, some of them on another level. I mean, it's so many different angles to reach in, and they're like, but what's next? What to do next? And you know, the breath work we had together, it's like open doors to something. Okay, there's other ways in that I can kind of use. That was also amazing
experience,
that workshop we
the
had,
breath
the
work.
event.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah,
everyone is asking us about, we want more, so we have to.
Yes. Well, I would love to come. Well, and I think it was cool how we did it in combination with the crystals, and let's absolutely do that again when we can open in Oslo. I wanted to add something, Johanna, to what you were saying, because as you were talking about like this love affair with the practice of yoga, what was going through my mind is that the practice of yoga is a practice of self-inquiry. And so that love affair that we have is actually a love affair with ourselves. And what an amazing gift that is. If we reframe how we think about our practice, and it's not just like, okay, this is what I do to stay in shape, or, you know, because it can be a very physical practice, and it can maybe give you a nice looking physical body. If that's, you know, it's just like going to the gym. If you do certain things, you'll get certain results. But of course, we know that yoga is so much more than that's just a byproduct. That's not why we do yoga. We do yoga to get that inner peace, to get that sense of satisfaction, to get that deeper connection to who we really are. And all of these practices, then this great love affair leads us just back to ourself with the big S. And I've never heard yoga called a love affair before. And it just, I really liked that, because it made me think like, yes, we're here to have a love affair with ourselves. That's what this is about. And self-love and self-care. And then from that place, then we go out into the world and we serve our families and our communities.
And you show up for yourself in a way.
You do.
You meet up.
You do.
Yeah.
And
you check in.
You check in. And I think it's also really important to talk about yoga off the mat. Because I think a lot of people, also it comes from the yoga industry, I think, that you're supposed to do this or that every day to be a real yogi, or a lot of people put it on themselves. But I think that to integrate yoga as part of your daily life, like Johanna said, some in periods where your life is very, very chaotic, maybe you need, like, you know, the discipline, or to have like a certain or specific time every day that you do it, just to make sure that you can hold on to something. But in other times where everything is very, very, you have so many things you have to do, then it's better maybe to go into the more investigative, the more intuitive practice where everything can just flow a little bit. And yoga is so adaptable. And I don't think we should underestimate either that there's so many people that start doing yoga like a physical practice, because I think when you do that over time, you cannot resist. Something will start to happen when you start to move with your breath and just listen to your breath and listen to your body. Then gradually something will start to change, and then suddenly you will just, you know, start to look for these other things, or maybe to do something more softer or more meditative, and or more breath work or more pranayama, whatever. But it will come when you're ready. It will come.
Yeah. And it's like yin and yang, the balance. I mean, and just follow the year. Sometimes it's summer, it's young, and it's like the life.
There's a yoga practice for every aspect of life.
Yeah, we love it. We love
I
it.
100% agree.
And show up.
And you can probably feel it now that you've become a mom as well.
Yeah. Well, and I look back, I mean, my practice has changed so much. You know, I mean, I used to have an asana practice twice a day.
Yeah.
And that was my life for a long time. And I look back, I have really fond memories of that. And I love that. And the muscle memory is still within my brain and within my body when I do asana now. But my yoga practice has changed drastically. You know, I went through cancer treatment 5 years ago, and then immigrating, starting over is a huge shock to the system when I moved to Norway. And then, and then becoming a mom and everything that entails, you know, during the pregnancy, then the postpartum period. And, you know, my asana practice is so simple, and it's not fancy. It's not exciting to anybody but me. I love it. I love it so much. And I do a lot of my asana practice at night. And it's so simple. It's so wonderful. But then I have all these other things that you were just talking about, Sunniva, like the yoga off the mat, where I'm doing breath breaks throughout the day, where I'm, you know, and that's sometimes what I use the crystals for in my home, is it's like like a wake up call, like, oh, hey, stop what you're doing, take a minute, 60 seconds, and just breathe slowly, do an 8-part breath count, or a few rounds of a Nadi Shodhana warm up, or whatever it might be. And then I go on with my day. And so there are these amazing ways that as we start to gather these tools and we've practiced them and we know how to use them, we can really like incorporate into our day without it being this big, like 90-minute, super intense, you know, sadhana where we have to do all of these things, or, you know, a super gentle yoga nidra. Like that is worth so much. And I think that's just an awesome way for people too, to be like, take the pressure off. It doesn't, if you to be a yogi, doesn't mean you have to do all these like crazy asanas and be doing handstands and
so much more. Yes.
And we also work a lot in our studio. We are in the suburbs of Oslo, so we have a lot of people that are not, you know, in their 20s. They're older. Most of them have children. Most of them are sitting behind a desk all day. A lot of people with different, you know, not necessarily injuries, but you can kind of feel how life is taking its toll in your body. And that doesn't mean that you are lesser of a yogi, that there are lots of things that your body cannot do. You just adapt. And it's absolutely fine. And that's how it should be.
Well,
not
and that's
the result practice.
Yeah, I mean, this is a practice, this is a lifestyle, and it's a practice for our life. And so, you know, we all are going to have experiences, whether it's in our physical body or our mental body or our emotional body, where we don't perhaps have the strength that we once had, or we are experiencing an injury, or we're at a challenging crossroads in our life. And one of my favorite sayings is just that the practice meets us where we are. And so whatever is happening in our life, whatever is happening in our day, the practice is there for us. And it will naturally ebb and flow. I mean, I want to be doing yoga until I'm 90. And so I think there's also a lot of grace in that idea of giving yourself permission to let your practice be whatever it is. And not feeling like you have to conform to the certain idea of what yoga as a practice is. And, you know, journaling, what a beautiful yoga practice. Sitting with crystals and just feeling the vibration, what a beautiful yoga practice. Squeezing your baby or hanging out with your kids, you know, what an amazing yoga practice. There's so many other ways. And for me, that's just like, okay, you know, because sometimes we have a bad day or we have a bad time in our life. And it's, you know, when we feel like we have to have an all or nothing type of practice, like it's only yoga if ... then when we're having a struggle in our experience and in our daily life, then it's very exclusionary to be like, okay, well, I can't dedicate 90 minutes to this intense sadhana today. I literally have 60 seconds. And so if we feel like there's always a separation between us and the practice, then we're never going to be able to get the benefits of the practice.
No, it's so true.
Opening the doors and being compassionate to ourselves and us as teachers to our students to be like, hey man, take a break.
Yes. And there's so many, there's very hard on, we can feel that on our participant. They're like, I want to do it like, I decided to do it 3 times a week. And it's like, no, okay.
One day at a time.
If you don't do it like 90 minutes, like 3 times a week, it's not in a way good enough, but it's not that how it works. It's like when you stand up, you go out in the nature, you put your feet on the ground and you feel it and you take 5 breaths and enjoy that 5 breaths, and you kind of move on, or you show up for yourself with your crystal or your ritual, or take an intention card, or just light a candle and do a small breath work, whatever, then celebrate that in a way. I think the society is it's so hard. We should be so hard, or if it's not like that or that, it's not good enough. But it is. I mean, we can celebrate every day.
We can.
Things that we do, or just a little 5 minutes when we check in. How am I? How is my breath? And it's okay. And that little time is like you're building small stones on your life and your quality of your life.
But I also think that our society is so oriented towards a result all the time. Everything that we do is very result orientated, and I think that a lot of people bring that into their yoga practice as well, and you don't have to see it as that. It's the journey in itself. It's the process in itself. It's not about getting to a certain result. And we know it many times ourselves that we have, let's say that you wanted to get into a specific asana, for instance, and once you got there, it's not like, oh, my life changed. Absolutely not. Then there is something else.
But you want to have how many days do I have to do that? How many hours? How many? You have to have it. Like you're running a marathon. That's okay. Tell me exactly how many hours. How do I do the program? Yes.
And you get those questions like, how quickly can I get very flexible?
Oh yes.
Like,
yes.
Well, that's not really how it works, is it?
I know, but we also can't fault people who are new to yoga for thinking that way, because you know, we look at social media and we look at how yoga is portrayed in our society, and it's like, okay, you have to be thin, you have to be super flexible, you have to look a certain way, and that's just not true at all. And I think that's a huge part of our job as well, is like, and I actually talked about this on the previous podcast that'll come out the week before this one, where how do we change the narrative around that? And how do we truly introduce yoga as a practice for all stages of life? And it's, I mean, this is actually something, I have a course that I've been thinking about for a long time that I'm going to be putting out into the world sometime in the near future. It's called the Mindful Mother course. And it actually it came out of what I needed directly postpartum after I had my son this summer. And, you know, I have access to a lot of these tools, and I've been doing a lot of these practices for many, many years. And it was really hard for me being a brand new mom and everything. And I had complications after my emergency C-section. And there was a lot of stuff, a lot of heavy emotions. And, you know, mom couldn't be here because of COVID, and she was going to come and help me and take care of me in the postpartum period. And, you know, I lived in the country, and so there wasn't really access to people around me. And anyways, I felt such a huge disconnection from the person I had been before going through this experience, where I was used to being able to spend a lot of time on my rituals and my practice. And I found that when I could spend 5 minutes a day, and as a new mom, here's the thing that was really surprising to me too, like that first month, the first 2 months, I actually had a lot more time than I thought I would. And I don't know if that's true for every woman in their experience, but you know, the baby is asleep quite a bit and you're exhausted and you need to sleep. But the things that make me feel like me are these rituals. And so when I spent just 5 minutes doing any one of these things, all of a sudden, didn't matter what happened the rest of my day or that I was trying to process my experience, all of a sudden I felt so much better. I was like, okay, I did my yoga today.
Yes.
And then I felt like I had that thread of connection to who I really am, not just a woman who has just had a baby.
Yeah.
And for me, that was so powerful. And I was thinking like, gosh, there's a lot of women out there who are used to yoga and meditation and breath work and go through the experience of becoming a new mom for the first time. And even when we have those tools, sometimes we need somebody else to like guide us and remind us and have that kind of like tie back into who we really are. And so I just was thinking like, gosh, this is a practice for every stage of our life.
Yes.
It is. And I think that when you are carrying a baby, when you're pregnant, there is nothing that can prepare you for what is going to come. You focus a lot on, and I can see that I teach prenatal yoga, and I can see that, you know, most women are very, very, very focused on their birth. That's kind of the big thing for them. It's the birth. But there is not so much focus on the time after, straight after birth. And there's so many things that nobody told you. There's a whole new world about what's going to happen to your body, what's going to happen, you know, how to deal with this little life, this little baby. But it is very hard. It's very surreal. It's very distant when you are pregnant. But if you have something there when that time comes, then I think that would be of immense help, actually. Even though you might not know that you're going to need it before you actually do.
And more actually talk about it at times.
Yes.
It's so good. And also that's a good thing with the digital world. It's easier and more accessible even to hear stories from these mothers, to tell the stories like, okay, everything is about up to the delivery date. And then after that, it's like,
what's next?
Yes.
What's gonna, and I remember when I had my first child, I had never I'd never changed a diaper. I had never been a babysitter. I had no idea what to do with, I was like, and then I just said to myself, okay, and none of my friends actually had children because they were all very late because I was still working as a dancer then. I had one person, a friend of my sister's, that was kind of, she was my hotline. I would call her like all the time. What do I do? Because my mom, she would, I mean, she thinks she remembers, but she actually doesn't really, you know. So, and I just kept saying to myself, there's so many people that did this before you, Sununu. You will be okay.
Yeah, but it is every woman's experience is so different. And
yes, I would say,
you know, I met with you ladies when I was pretty pregnant, now that I remember.
Yes, you were.
I was big.
Yes.
And you are beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I actually spent a lot of time preparing for the postpartum period, and the actual birth itself, I didn't spend all that much time on, because I knew, I was like, oh, it's one day out of my life. And the postpartum period, especially in the yogic and Ayurvedic traditions, is actually what's most important. And that being said, even though I had, you know, things happen and we can't predict how our birth and labor is going to go. And even though I had all these preparations and plans and I was really prepared for the postpartum period, my birth went totally differently than I had it in my mind it would go. And so then my postpartum period was so different than what I was expecting. And so having a tie back to a community for me would have been very helpful, even if it was just a 5-minute check-in a day. And so that's what I've created this course to be. It's a 30-day course, and it's just come as you are when you're a new mom, and just know that you have like this network, and it's a 5-minute daily exercise. So it's a different exercise each day, and you do it if you can. If you don't worry about it. And then it's a 1-hour live session, 1 time a week for 4 weeks, to talk with other moms and have some guidance, using the wisdom of yoga and Ayurveda throughout the postpartum period. And I just was thinking, you know, because I had some crystals from your shop, and I had one practice I did every day, which was my Abhyanga, the oil massage. I actually did it twice a day. And that's what kept me somewhat connected and somewhat grounded when my whole world had been thrown up from a bit of a traumatic birth. And yeah, I'm just like, wow, how cool is this? And, you know, especially I think that particular period in a woman's life can feel really isolating and really lonely and really confusing. And so when there is like this anchor back into something familiar, and it's like, I also found it doesn't need, like what we've been talking about this whole time, that when we are in a state of shock or a state of trauma, this was also true when I was going through my cancer treatment, simple works. It doesn't have to be like, you know, a big rigmarole. Like just having a touchstone back to who we are is what helps us stay balanced and a little bit more calm and relaxed. And that's why I think, like, again, what you ladies are doing and your business with the Feelgood Shop, I think it's so important, because as people start to become more aware of how to use these tools, it does take on a much more significant role in your life, rather than just being a pretty piece of rock.
Definitely. And it's a lot about, like Johanna said, just to check in with yourself. Just to check in with yourself every day. How am I actually doing right now? And whatever comes up, it's okay. It's not always supposed to be like jolly and happy.
Yeah, it's very easy to check out on everyone else. There's so many, the first thing they do, they kind of check into the smartphone and check everyone else,
the news
and you like scrolling on your smartphone and checking in on everyone else before you even like checked in with yourself. And how am I? Maybe I want to have a purpose for the day. I want to feel how things are with me before I get out there and reach the world. It's so easy to like get everything in just without no filter or checking in. Am I grounded? What do I need? How can I support myself through this day? And with of course, all these amazing tools that can support me. Or yeah, I have actually one. Yeah. Which one do you have?
I have a fluorite.
Oh, that's so funny.
You have a rose quartz.
Yeah. With of course with geranium. Today.
Yeah, geranium. It's all about geranium.
Oh, the heart.
Yeah. Female health, you know, the female wellness.
Yeah. Well, I have my citrine ring on here. This is
it's amazing.
Yeah, and it's in a gold setting, and I'm wearing it on the pointer finger on my right hand, because this is my Jyotish reading. This is for Jupiter, and citrine corresponds with Jupiter, and then this is the Jupiter finger. And you know, so there's like you said before too, I think, Sunniva, like there's so many layers, or Johanna, I can't remember who it was. There's so many layers to this practice. And like, you know, I wear my crystal as my jewelry, not because it's pretty, it is pretty, but because of the properties and what I think it can do to help enhance and support me in my journey. And I mean, there's a whole science to Ayurvedic jewelry. And jewelry, what do you call those people? Jewelers. Ayurvedic jewelers. I mean, it's fascinating how you can use your jewelry to support you. Like,
and I think it's amazing when you talk to people that are really, really skeptic, and they say that, oh, it's just a rock or it's just a stone. And then I like to kind of compare it to like some kind of mental training. You know that if you keep saying good things to yourself, or you have things around you that inspire you, most people have, you know, if they're like athletes or performers, just before they're supposed to do something really, really important, they usually have like a ritual or something that they carry with them, maybe that somebody gave to them that means something. I mean, it's exactly the same. You put your energy into this object or whatever it is, and it gives you so much power back. And I think that it's, you know, it doesn't have to, you can believe in whatever you want. I mean, but just whatever you feel that, okay, this works for me, then it's amazing. I think it's absolutely great.
Yeah, but this is just amazing because it's from the nature and it's always in change. There's nothing that is, everything is unique. There is nothing that is the same as something else.
No,
and
it's true.
It's through thousands of years, you can kind of find them in their nature. And I mean, it's the same as the yoga practice. You more you kind of investigate these magical things from the nature, you're more like, oh my God. And it's been used for thousands of years. And that cannot be like put on it have to be experienced in your own life, or you have to kind of open up for the curiosity to investigate this minerals
the minerals
and the things. And also with the Ayurveda, that's very interesting because it's such a thousands of years
of tradition
that has been used. And in India, it's the medical, or
it's the medical source in many ways.
That you and also back to you do it for yourself, and you kind of invest in yourself, in your health, and kind of take the tools that's needed.
And I think it's interesting also, like for the essential oils. I know that, for instance, in the south of Europe, a lot of how do you call them, GPs, or no, what do you call, like doctors? They use essential oils as part of, you know, what they prescribe to people. It's part of the tradition. In Norway, people are a bit like, well, essential oils, it doesn't really work. Yes, it actually does. And it's chemistry. And there are more and more science projects on this as well that proves that it actually does work. So that's so interesting.
Yeah, well, it's plant medicine, and
it is plant medicine.
I mean,
it is.
It's the vibration of the living plants, and crystals are the vibration of the living earth. And it's you know, again, just the nature, and we are part of nature. And so when we're around nature and we incorporate nature into our daily life, of course we feel better.
Yes. It's an upgrade.
It is an upgrade. Yeah, definitely.
So that's why we have the Feelgood Shop. To inspire, to
higher your vibrations.
And it's a huge interest in that, because people are curious. You get back to the nature, always come back to that, back to the nature, back to your roots, back to your
we all come from the nature.
It's where we came from, it's where we're going to go back to. The karmic wheel keeps spinning. Oh, ladies, thank you so much for joining me on the podcast and sharing all of your wisdom about this stuff. It's amazing. And I will be linking to, in the show notes, to your yoga studio and to your web shop, the Feelgood Shop. And I guess that's it. I just want to say have a wonderful day. And to everybody listening, you have a wonderful day too.
Thank you so much.
You are so welcome. Bye, ladies. I'll talk to you soon.
Bye.